Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Rune Words. Today we're going to be looking at the Rune Word Gloom. Gloom is a relatively easy to make rune word with Fal Pul. A lot of these are considered mid runes, and while rune I believe is technically considered into the kind of like the high rune territory because of its usefulness, it's not as rare as something like a Vix rune or something like that. So you generally will find them a lot. The problem with runes is that people like to use them. They're 15 all resistances, so they go good in a lot of pieces of equipment, and you can put them in shields for 22 all res. So, if you do happen to have a Fal rune, a rune, or a Pul rune laying around, you can try out this recipe. Now, it is a level 47 rune word recipe, so do keep that in mind as we go forward with this video, because I am making it in an Archon plate, which has a level 63 requirement. So don't take that to mean that the rune word has a level 63 requirement. All right, so it is a Fal, an rune, and a Pul rune, and we get Gloom. We get 1,739 defense, which does vary by quite a bit, so 200 to 260% enhanced. We get 15% chance to cast level 3 Dim Vision when struck, which isn't like super duper amazing, but it can definitely be handy to help keep you out of trouble. Dim Vision essentially makes monsters, I don't want to say blind, but like essentially it makes it so that you have to come within melee range for them to see you. And it's very obvious because there is a sort of a light radius that is around the monster. And when they become dim visioned, the light radius diminishes to essentially the exact same size as a might aura. And essentially, if you walk within their little might aura, they will see you and they will attack you. But as long as you are outside of that little might aura, they will not be able to see you. And we'll play around with that. We also get 10% faster hit recovery, which isn't a lot, but it's better than nothing. We get plus 10 to strength, which is very nice to have, although armor tends to be the highest strength item usually. So it's kind of not as great, but we're not going to say no. We've got all resistances 45, which is a flat amount, so a very nice amount of all res. So right off the bat, it's a very defensive armor. We've already got a relatively nice amount of defense, and we've got a relatively nice amount of resistances. No plus of skills or anything, but certainly not a bad plate. We also have half freeze duration, which would be much better if we had cannot be frozen. But if you don't have cannot be frozen, half freeze duration is definitely going to help you out a little bit. 5% damage take goes to mana, which is very nice because that is going to convert any physical damage that comes in into mana points. So you will get, like for instance, if you took 100 damage, you would still take 100 damage. That doesn't diminish, but you would gain 5 mana to your mana pool. It also reduces your light radius by 3, which is not a super big deal, but you will notice when the light radius is reduced in the darker zones. So if we walk over here into the catacombs, and if I take off the armor, you will notice that my light radius visibly becomes larger when I take off the plate, and it visibly becomes smaller when I put it on. And I would imagine that if you had a rather large number of negative light radius items, it would be like getting blinded. Yes. With the very dim vision ability that the armor has. And this armor seems like a very nice plate for level 47. If I was level 47, I would probably put this in an ornate plate. Because ornate plates have some fairly good defense for only a level requirement. I think it's like level 25, which is low enough that you would have a pretty nice amount of defense. It doesn't have a ridiculous amount of strength requirement on an ornate plate, and it would make a decent like leveling up item. Of course, once you get into the higher levels, you can make this into a higher level plate if we want to, but hopefully by then you'll be working toward another piece of gear. Although the nice defense and the nice resistances on this certainly are desirable. It doesn't have any other special mechanics though. Besides the dim vision, it really doesn't have a whole lot, and the dim vision only applies when you get beat up. So you have to actually go out here and you have to actually get struck by monsters. So unless you're actually actively getting beat down, it's not going to do you any good. And of course, the other thing here is that the defense that this gives you is also going to mean you're going to hit less, which means it's going to apply less. It's also not a relatively high level version of dim vision, which means it's not even going to last very long. You can see it only lasts about what, like, I want to say about 4 seconds, maybe 5 seconds. So it's not as useful as it could be. Dim vision does go up. The duration of dim vision does go up as the level increases. And at level 3, the duration is 11 seconds, according to the skill tree. But that certainly didn't seem like 11 seconds to me. It also has a radius of 4 yards at level 3, so it will hit just about every monster that's within your immediate vicinity. And let's count that out just to see, shall we? See if I can manage to get this to proc again without dying. I might want to grab some potions. Just a couple potions. Akara, give him potions. Thank you. Always say thank you to Akara. So we're going to count it out. Next time it procs. 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000. That was only 3 seconds. So it does say 11 seconds on the duration for a level 3 dim vision, but it doesn't seem to actually be lasting 11 seconds. And I can only assume it's because certain monsters must have a reduction in curse duration. So there we go. 1 1000, 2 1000. That one lasted a whole 2 seconds. So not quite as good as it would seem. I feel like the dim vision is probably not why you're coming to this armor. Why you're probably coming to this armor is the other effects. The faster hit recovery, the all resistance is 45, the strength, the massive amounts of defense, so forth and so on. However, I feel like there's other armors that might be better. There's other armors that are definitely cheaper. Smoke, for instance, comes to mind as a cheaper option. It doesn't require an rune. Also, you could make a stone, or you could make a treachery. You know, there are a lot of different options, and I'm not exactly sure why you would go specifically with Gloam. Trying to think off the top of my head, but I'm really not coming up with a lot. I'm really not. I mean, the dim vision could be nice on a mercenary. I could see that. If the mercenary's in there getting beat up all the time, the dim vision would probably help keep them alive if the monsters are constantly getting blinded. As you saw with the ranged monsters, it does cast on the ranged monsters, which is helpful. Those monsters are blinded for, you know, like it could be like 100 yards off, and they hit you, and the character still casts on top of them. You know, and that's certainly useful to have the curse just simply casting on ranged monsters that would otherwise be spamming shots on you. Because for that duration of time when that monster is, of course, blinded, they're not shooting. Ranged monsters in particular are very strongly affected by the blind's target effects, because as soon as they are blinded, they just kind of just stand there, and they don't really do anything. So it will actually reduce the amount of damage that you're taking from ranged monsters, but not like to the point where it's going to be a massive, massive bonus. And 15% is a little low for something like that when you're pretty much relying on the monster to beat you up. It will proc on non-physical damage as well. I've seen it. Fire damage, lightning damage, things like that. So it will help you out with, believe it or not, with glooms when glooms attack you. But the thing about it is the gloom has to actually hit you to proc the blind. And as we've seen, the blind doesn't last long enough to be particularly useful. So I'm not really sure exactly what they were going for here. Maybe they should have beefed up that dim vision a little bit higher. You know, maybe they had originally intended for it to last 11 seconds. And at 11 seconds, I feel like it would be useful, but it doesn't last 11 seconds. It lasts like 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 seconds, depending on the monster's, I guess, resistance to curses. I didn't even think monsters had resistance to curses, but it definitely seems like it because it's not working. I don't think there's really a lot more to say about this particular armor. You could make it in an ethereal base. for a Mercenary, and that way they can have the all resistances early on. Now granted, when your character usually reaches Hell difficulty and around level 80, 90, they don't really need the resistances so much anymore, so this isn't really very effective. But I could see at level 47, when this armor comes into play, the resistances helping out. But the other issue here that we have is that Treachery is cheaper than this and also gives resistances. Smoke is cheaper than this and also gives resistances. And Stone, I believe, is about the same cost and also gives resistances. Not as much, but it also gives quite a bit of other defenses and fast rate recovery and things like that. I'm really looking at this armor, and I'm really trying very hard to think about what specifically Gloom could be useful for. But I feel like it's outclassed by quite a few other characters. I mean, specifically that ranged attacker thing with the dim vision would be really useful if it just lasted longer. I feel like if it just lasted longer, it would be great. And maybe it does have something to do with Hell difficulty. Maybe in Hell difficulty, the curses don't last as long. So let's go test it real quick. I am a person who loves to test things. So let's go to normal difficulty. Or sorry, Nightmare difficulty, which is probably where you would get this plate. So level 47 is going to be Nightmare. And let's go ahead and see how long the curse lasts in Nightmare difficulty versus Hell. Perhaps this is just a plate that was sort of made for Nightmare and not specifically for Hell. One 1,000, two 1,000, three 1,000, one 1,000, two 1,000, three 1,000, four 1,000, five 1,000, six 1,000. So definitely yes. So the answer to the question is yes, the curse does last longer in normal Nightmare difficulty versus Hell. It definitely seems to have a variance that seems to be based on the difficulty of the character. I would even bet that if we went to normal difficulty, it probably lasts 11 seconds. Because probably in a normal difficulty, we've got probably no curse penalties going on. Or rather, curse reduction from the monsters, or whatever you want to call it. Because it really just kind of seems like that's what's going on. Is the monsters are, of course... Alright, let's see if we can get this curse to go off, and we'll count it out in normal difficulty. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000, 6 1,000, 7 1,000, 8 1,000, 9 1,000, 10 1,000, 11 1,000, 12. Yes. So, in normal difficulty, the curse has its full effect. In Nightmare difficulty, it seems to be about half. And in Hell difficulty, it definitely seems like it's about 1/3. So that's really what's going on here, is that the Gloom plate definitely would work much better in Nightmare difficulty. And at level 47, which is where you have access to this plate, it would actually do just fine. I feel like in Nightmare difficulty, it's going to do fine. But in Hell difficulty, the level 3 dim vision is just too low. And the natural reduction in curses from the monsters kind of makes it moot. Not really sure what to say about this particular rune word. If you guys have any suggestions or anything, go ahead and put them down in the comments. I'm always happy to hear what you guys have to say about specific rune words. I like to collect information. And as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, and keep watching.